holding you down on SportsCenter. We've been sort of keying in on different divisions. We look at the NFC East, where the Cowboys are our football power index favorites. They won the division last year. They have a 45% chance to do it again. But no team has won this division in consecutive seasons since the Eagles did it all the way back in 2003 and 2004. Cowboys reporting to training camp today may be facing as much pressure as anyone to end the 26-year championship drought, or at the very least contend for one, and specifically for head coach Mike McCarthy to calm any hot seat talk after an 18-15 start to his Dallas tenure.
It's a huge challenge to be a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. It's a huge challenge to be a Dallas Cowboy, and I think now being more in tune with that, my daily focus is what affects winning, and that's really where I put my energy and my time into it. You understand the negatives, the narratives it's part of the job.
I want to be real clear. He wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't think he was the man to lead this team to a Super Bowl. He would not be, and I have choices.
Ooh, we now bring in our reporter Ed Werder with the Cowboys in Oxnard, California. I see you chuckling. I had options. Training camp's just starting, and here we are already talking about job security and Mike McCarthy. What more can you tell us about this situation?
Yeah, Al, I think Jerry Jones was just recognizing the speculation about Mike McCarthy's future when he addressed the issue without being asked during a 63-minute news conference to open training camp. So now the Cowboys owner won't have to address it again until the Cowboys lose for the first time this season. And while McCarthy has 3 seasons remaining on his contract, the head coach seems to make himself vulnerable because he doesn't call plays on offense or defense. Coordinators Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, 2 assistants who interviewed for head coaching jobs with other teams this offseason, have those responsibilities. So McCarthy controls overall game management, and we saw what that can be like on the final play of the Cowboys' playoff loss to the 49ers, just how incredibly bad that can sometimes be. Furthermore, Jones was irritated last season because McCarthy failed to fix their offensive line issues or the problems that they had with penalties. They led the NFL, and when I asked McCarthy about the penalty problem today, he said he likes the play style that's been created, but he realizes these players don't need to be pushed to be aggressive, but instead pulled back to avoid crossing the line. And L. McCarthy also failed to ensure the Cowboys got the ball to their playmakers like CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard often enough the final 2 games of the season. So I think he needs to demonstrate improvement in those areas, and he undoubtedly needs postseason success, and that has to be troubling because McCarthy and Dak Prescott in their 2 seasons together, just 3-7 against teams that made the playoffs.
And they're staring down a really tough schedule right out of the gate, too. They host Tom Brady and the Bucs before facing Joe Burrow and the Bengals in Week 2. Jerry Jones will continue to say he's got bros in different area codes until then. Ed Werder with the latest. Michigan football coach Jim Harbaugh has taken more of a public stance on social issues in recent years, speaking out in favor of Colin Kaepernick, speaking against police brutality after the murder of George Floyd, and last week about abortion at a pro-life fundraising event in Michigan. ESPN's Gene Wojciechowski, as part of a wide-ranging interview with Harbaugh, asked the coach about his views.
Jim, your faith is very important to you, and recently you made an appearance and spoke at a pro-life charity event. Why did you think that was important to do, and did you receive criticism, support after that appearance?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, faith, family, football, I mean, those are my priorities, and I just think that this issue of life, of saving life, the abortion issue is one it's so big that it needs to be talked about. It needs serious conversation. What do you think? What do I think? What do other things? I mean, really, people really think about it. Not so much like, hey, I don't want to get involved with that because it's too big of an issue for that. I mean, it's a life or death type of issue, and I believe in and I respect people's views, but let's hear them, let's discuss them, because there's passion. There's passion on both sides of this issue.
What would you do and as you bring up this idea of discussion and how important it is, what would you do if a player or a female staff member of the Michigan football team came to you and said, Coach, I respectfully disagree with your stance. Can we discuss it?
Yeah, that's what we need to discuss it. Let's discuss it. Have told them that, and And it goes even further. I mean, what I've told, same thing I tell my kids, boys, the girls, same thing I tell our players, our staff members. You know, I would encourage them if they have a pregnancy that's, you know, wasn't planned, you know, to go through with it. You know, let that unborn child be born, and if at that time you don't feel like you can care for it, you don't have the means or the wherewithal, then Sarah and I will take that baby. Any player on our team, any female staff member, any staff member, or anybody in our family or our extended family that doesn't feel like after they have a baby that they can take care of for it, we got a big house. We'll raise that baby.
Today, Coach Harbaugh reiterating his stance during Big Ten Media Day availability. We now shift to a developing story. Brittany Griner's drug trial continued today in Russia, with the WNBA Stars team explaining that Griner's use of cannabis was for legitimate medicinal reasons. Griner was arrested in February for carrying vape canisters containing cannabis oil in her luggage. That the U.S. government considers her wrongfully detained. Griner faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted. TJ Quinn has been our investigative reporter on this story. From its inception, TJ, what are the main goals that Brittany Griner and her defense team are trying to accomplish during this trial?
Yeah, Elle, in a lot of ways, what they're trying to do is minimize the amount of damage. It's been known throughout this entire process she was going to be found guilty no matter what. And of course, she pleaded guilty a couple of weeks ago. What they're hoping for is some kind of deal between the two governments. What they know is that Russia would require an admission of guilt before they agree to any deal to send her back to the United States. What they're trying to do in court is make the case that, hey, this is someone who's a good citizen. Two of her teammates from her Russia team came to speak as character witnesses, that she did this accidentally. She never intended to break the law. She wants to make it easier for Russia to say, okay, we can make a deal to send you home. But they also know there's going to be a sentence. It'll likely be harsh. Again, you said she faces 10 years. They would like to do what they can to make it a lighter sentence. They would like to make it easy for Russia to do the, quote, right thing. But what's important to remember in these cases is no matter what they do, it's very unlikely that she'll get a shorter sentence or make a negotiation much quicker. What they're trying to avoid is doing anything that would make her situation worse.
Griner will be back in court tomorrow, where she's expected to face questioning from the judge. Certainly we'll have the latest on that here on SportsCenter. TJ Quinn with the latest. Thanks, TJ. Still ahead here on SportsCenter. Cliff Kingsbury weighs in on Kyler Murray's study clause. And you don't want to miss our Super Bowl chance reaction to the odd inclusion in Kyler's new deal. Plus, how much would you be willing to give her for Juan Soto? The latest on what the Nationals are asking in trade talks for their slugging superstar. That's ahead on SportsCenter.